Bertie Brosnan, filmmaker by heart. And the first movie I'm going to talk about is It, the one that was produced in 1990, the American-Canadian supernatural horror drama miniseries, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, adapted from the Stephen King novel. And we all know that the story revolves around a clown named Pennywise. But this is no normal clown, this is a shape-shifting clown that can take on any fear or phobias of his prey, I guess. He certainly is a predator that lurks in the dark. And when I say the dark, I mean everything that seems to be underground, that seems to be connected to sewers and pipes. A lot of scenes take place the street, looking down into the gutter, and from toilets and shower spaces. What I want to talk to you about is how I felt when I watched It in 1990. I felt absolutely terrified. I was only 5 or 6 years old. For anybody that's judging out there, or anybody that's saying, oh my God, your parents were terrible to let you watch It. And you know what? I don't agree with that. I do not agree. Personally, I wouldn't do it right now. But the way I look at life is this. If certain things weren't done in a certain way, I wouldn't have turned out the way I am. So I do believe it was the right decision. And ultimately what it has done, because I'm the type of filmmaker that's into psychology, looking in depth into the psyche of characters and into my own character, I'm really starting to see the power of the story of it, the power of the story behind it. And it is a very, very, very unique story. How would I say powerful in the sense of the archetypal stories, the hero's journey, because it's set in two different times, 1960 and 1990. The whole idea of being attacked as children by a clown through the mind and through dreams and through visions that the adults cannot see. And not only can the adults not see it, they also do not believe in it. They also, and I'm talking about the adults in the children's lives, I'm not talking about when the children become adults. When the children go to the adults for help, the adults cannot see what the children are seeing. This is terrifying stuff. Because as a child, obviously we all know children have, very vivid imaginations. That's the power of It. It's not just the clown, it's what the clown represents. The clown represents the absolute darkness within one's mind. It represents everything that is deep within the psyche. And I think this is, incredibly deep, this movie, incredibly deep. Because when the children grow up into adults and they come back to kill It, this is something that I believe that all human beings need to do to grow up, truly grow up. They need to come back and destroy the fears. They need to destroy those monsters that aren't real as such, but feel real. They need to go into the crevices of their own psychological understanding of themselves and really look at the devastation, look at the horror, and look at the hurt that's deep within every human being. Because we live in a world where we're desensitized to such violence and monstrosities and horror, that it's almost, within our subconscious. It's like in the superconscious that Carl Jung talked about, and Freud. This is very much Freudian and Carl Jung territory here. It's sensational in the sense that, it's dealing with the dream aspect and nightmare aspect of waking nightmares, active imagination. It's amazing. It truly is. And, in a way, I felt like the adult returning to revisit It and to see how it's not scary. When I rewatched It, I didn't find it scary. Yeah, the images were a bit horrifying, and it was a bit like, how would I say, when I see something that I used to know. It has kind of built up this big kind of cult following, and it's almost like the movie that nobody wants. Right now I'm looking at the poster and it does nothing for me. It does nothing. I guess because I've worked as a filmmaker and as an actor, so I really know what goes into making movies. I really know. And I know what it is. It's an actor, dressed up. So I'm interested to see the new one, and I want to see what they do, because I'm hearing great reviews. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just going to say a couple of last things on It. I was, satisfied that I wasn't scared while watching, even though I was slightly irked or slightly, how would I say, I don't know, like a slight bit of anxiety when watching it. I wouldn't even call it fear. So that was really satisfying, to revisit something that was so traumatizing as a child. I found it very pleasing that I got such a lot out of it, as a story rather than just a horror. I think this is what's missing in horror, and that's why they're remaking it. The way that it plays on the fears of each character in the movie. There was one instance where there's a couple of instances where it lives in the swamp. He lives kind of in this building, and the building is just incredible looking. It looks like it's fucking photoshopped in, but it just looks incredible. Like the actual swamp itself looks like a place that's a figment of your imagination. It's like the most scary fucking swamp you'd ever see in your whole life. That's where it is, and that's where he kind of draws people in, and he kind of shows them these psychological images that are the phobias and the fears of the characters. What it is just is just a figment of their imagination. The monster uses this figment to draw the kids in, and then it basically kills it. It's like a big monster that's trying to preserve bodies, and then at times it just eats bodies. I'm not quite sure. It's a bit all over the place, that part of it, but look, nothing takes away from what it is, and it is probably one of my favorite horrors. It's definitely up there with The Shining for me, in terms of its themes, and in terms of the impact it has. And even though the impact was so strong and it has a cult following, there are several moments in it where the filmmaking is quite bad. The second half of the movie suffers, especially the very end, but overall it doesn't take away from what it did to the culture of horror films from then on in. Thankfully, there's a remake just produced, and I will be making a very short video on my experience and my feelings of that movie quickly after this video. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching, and I really hope that you like, comment and subscribe. I would like to start the discussion here. Maybe tell me what your thoughts were about It 1990, and if you had any childhood memories around the film. Thank you so much. Bye.